What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Village of the Damned, directed by John Carpenter. I'm going to give you my brief thoughts. I overall think that Village of the Damned is an okay movie. I don't consider this to be one of John Carpenter's most underrated works. I think this movie is overall just decent. It's nothing spectacular. It's nothing special. To tell you the truth, I think Village of the Damned can be kind of a forgettable movie. It's not to say it's a bad movie. I just think it's overall decent. The basic premise of this movie is that this unknown force invades this little town, and 10 women get mysteriously pregnant because of it. Now, as a result, they all give birth to children at the same exact time, and it's revealed that these children are basically being manipulated by some alien form because they're able to read the minds of others and pretty much control them. So that's basically the overall premise of this movie. Now, how does this movie hold up on its own? Like I said, I think it's overall decent. I think from a story perspective, the movie is okay. It's definitely directed with precision. From a production standpoint, John Carpenter never fails. He is a master at creating suspense. And I think from a directorial standpoint, this movie is, of course, well made. It's a Carpenter movie. I've yet to see a Carpenter movie that was never well made. This movie is well made. It's got a good visual sense to it. It's got that patented John Carpenter slow burnness to it. Though I think with a story like this, the John Carpenter slow burnness kind of makes this movie really sluggish to sit through because it doesn't really have a whole lot going for it, to be honest with you. This movie doesn't really get remotely interesting until the kids start manipulating the town and start killing everybody. But up to that point, the movie is kind of sluggish. Now, you do have a solid cast that keeps you entertained. You got Christopher Reeve, who plays the doctor, who plays the lead character known as Dr. Allen, and I think Reeve is really good in the role. Mr. Superman himself, he's a good actor to begin with. And we live in a world where Superman and John Carpenter got to make a movie together. It's just a shame that it happened to be a movie that's just not all that interesting. But to Reeves' credit, he gives an earnest performance in this movie, and I actually think he's one of the better actors, to be honest with you. Mark Hamill's in this movie. He plays a preacher, and he's okay in the role. I think in a lot of scenes he could be a little too cartoony for his own good. Christy Allen plays a scientist working for the government who pretty much knows what's going on, but she's keeping it a secret for some reason. She's fine in the role, though I think she can come across as a complete bitch, and I really don't think she doesn't have a chance to actually redeem herself, at least to me at least. And when the children kill her off, it's kind of underwhelming, to be honest with you. She really has an underwhelming death. I don't know why. It just seemed really flat to me. Of all the kids, the most interesting out of all the kids is probably the kid David, played by Thomas Dekker. Mainly because that out of all the children who are just robotic, monotone, and just lifeless, David is the only one who shows signs of empathy and signs of a good nature, so to speak. And that all has to go to his single mother who's raising him. At the beginning of this movie, the mother's husband dies in a car crash, and it doesn't get referenced later on. It just happened. We don't really see her struggling as a single mom raising this child. She just goes about her business. So it kind of makes me wonder why even have a scene like that in the movie of her husband dying if we're not going to really relate to it. Especially if she doesn't even bring it up to David in any scene that I can recall in this movie. Not once does she ever bring up the fact that, hey, listen, your father passed away in a car accident. You should feel sorry or empathy because of something like this. We don't get a scene like that with the character of David, and him gaining emotion simply is out of the fact that his mother is loving, and the children that he's with are just robotic monsters. Whatever, it is what it is. From a horror standpoint, the kids are creepy. I give them that. They have very distinct, just blank stares and pale faces and white hair. And like I said, the lead is called Mara, who is actually the daughter of Dr. Allen. She comes across as fairly creepy, and she comes across as just like this has like a robotic nature to her. And I guess that was the intention going with these children. Now, Now you can fight off the manipulation of these kids by building these mental barriers within your mind, and that's what Dr. Allen does in this movie until of course the brick wall eventually breaks. Now, of course, Allen just created this brick wall as a way to buy himself some time so that the building that he and the children are in explodes and he pretty much saves everyone, including David, who had by this point had grown his empathy and pretty much defended his mother from being killed by the children. Which again, it goes to show that David is the most interesting child out of the bunch. He's the one with the most development, or any development whatsoever. And I actually thought Thomas Dekker did a fairly decent job as a little child actor with this thing, in this movie, to be honest with you. So, yeah, those are just basically my quick thoughts on Village of the Damned. I really don't have a whole lot to say about this movie. It didn't really leave much of an impression on me. Aside from very good directing by John Carpenter, beautiful cinematography, and a kick-ass score, and a couple of scenes here and there and some decent performances from most of the cast members, I think this movie, is overall well done. It's kind of forgettable. It's not a bad movie. I just think it's kind of forgettable, and it's definitely the weak link of a John Carpenter filmography. But with all that being said, I'm just going to give Village of the Damned a 6.5 out of 10. It is actually pretty good, and if you're a completionist and a John Carpenter fan like me, give it a watch. Maybe your views on it will be different than mine. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.